What's up, guys? On this episode of Pistonhead Garage, I'm working on something that's not actually my Skyline. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Pistonhead Garage. I'm Garrett, and today we're going to start something a little bit different, but the same. So, you've been seeing me work on my Skyline for a number of years now, but I've actually got a couple other projects that I'm going to be working on. So we're going to start on one of those today. And I guess we'll show you what it is. It's right behind me here actually right now. This is my girlfriend's 1990 300ZX. Well, actually this is a Nissan Fairlady because it is right-hand drive, and it was a Japanese import. This car is what they call a 2+2, which if you guys don't know much about these cars, the 2+2 has a back seat. Whereas the 2+0 does not. In Japan, the 2+2 was more desirable because it was easier to insure, and thus only most of the 2+2s were the twin turbos, and you won't see so many 2+0 Japanese twin turbos on the market. Anyway, so this car she's had for a few years now, and it's come a long way. We've done a lot of work to it, and today we are working right back here. It's hard to see because of the sunlight coming in. I apologize for that. But this is what we're working on. So we've got, this is a Twin Z wide fender kit. And it's a 70mm over fender. So that's, what is that? 2.5 inches or so of extra width, which you can see with the stock wheels, or not the stock wheels, but the wheels she has on here right now. You can see the difference that is. It's quite significant. So, plan for this car, at least right now, is getting the wide body installed. There are new wheels and tires that are going to go on it, and then everything's getting wrapped. It's going to stay black, but it's going to be 3M 1080 wrapped, so that'll be pretty sweet. There's also a new rear bumper that's going on the car. This piece right here attaches to the bumper down here, but it doesn't fit the stock bumper. So she has the matching Twin Z rear bumper for it as well. So yeah, so that's pretty much what the plan is. And I know we've done a wide body on the channel before with my Skyline. Actually, we also did a wide body on the Miata, which we didn't cover in too much depth. But anyway, this one I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'll talk to you about that in a second. Actually, we'll go over to the workbench and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So here is that fender piece I was talking to you about. Nice thing about this kit is like the rear marker lights that come on the bumper. They basically fit into here and they replace the existing mounts. So that is just like kind of a plug and play ordeal. Now, like I was talking about earlier with what I'm doing differently about this. If you watched my video on the Skyline wide body, which you should have, if you haven't, make sure you go watch that. The way I did it was a little bit different. So what I did was I cut the outer fender, the outer quarter panel in the rear, and then what you do is you cut slots in the inner fender skin, and then what I did was I bent those flaps over and around the outside of the quarter panel, and then I siliconed the crap out of the whole thing to kind of seal it all together. Now that works, and I mean, as long as you do a good job with the silicone, it's going to be watertight and safe, but it won't be as strong as what we're doing with this kit. The difference being that once you've cut that inner fender skin and slotted it, you bend them so they're pointing about straight out away from the fender, and then you tack weld the outer and inner skins together. I don't have a MIG welder, so we're going to try to TIG weld it, which will, I mean, I'm sure it'll work. It'll just be a little more finicky and it'll take a little more time. But once we've tacked it all together, like you basically just do small tacks until you get almost a solid bead. Once that's all done, you cut off the excess metal, grind it down relatively smooth, and then skim it over with your sealant. And it creates a stronger fender because now you have the inner and outer attached together, so the outer can't flex as much. As well as it's going to be, completely sealed from water, which is the same as my car, but it's just better. The other difference with mine, I attach these to the car with just pop rivets. They're aluminum rivets, and they're pretty common. They're pretty popular when it comes to attaching body panels to stuff permanently. The difference here is that these are going to be removable, and the way I'm going to do that is by using riv nuts and bolts. So these here have like these are made of fiberglass, and they have these little indentations here, which is where the fasteners will go. And this it has like almost has a divot in it, so it can it's basically it's ready to go to be drilled. It's centered out for you and everything, so it's really easy. So once these are pre-drilled, which I'll do shortly, and we'll line them up with the car, and then we'll attach them to the car. Now, to do that, we have this tool here, which I just bought. Well, we actually have two different tools, which I'm going to demonstrate real quick. So this is a riv nut tool. This is a style of riv nut tool, and I think it's probably the most common one that I've seen. And it's actually really neat. I have a whole bunch of extra riv nuts here, so I can kind of demonstrate what you do with it. If you haven't seen one of these, they're really cool. This right here is a riv nut, and this is a metric M5 size. This is the size we're going to be using for the wide body. And I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You basically drill a pilot hole in the sheet metal you want to attach, or what you're attaching it to. So in this case, the OEM quarter panel on the car gets a hole drilled in it. This gets attached to the tool and slid into the sheet metal, and you crank it down, and the inside of this fitting will basically grip the sheet metal and create a permanent nut, basically, that you can put in a blind hole. You don't have to worry about reaching behind to hold the nut or welding or anything. It just has a knurled lip on it here that grabs the metal and keeps it from spinning out. And they have pretty good clamping force if you install them correctly. So let me just show you kind of what the finished product looks like here. Let me just take you out of this here, over this way. So I just had some sheet metal that I had laying around, and this is what the riv nut looks like in place. As you can see, I mean, it's just a hole, like you just bolt it in. And if I come around the back here, on the inside, you can see that, if I can focus here, you can see that the riv nut, basically, there's this this lip right here. That is basically, as you saw, it was flat. Now it's all mushroomed out, and it's basically pressed up against the inside of this metal to hold it in place. Really, really cool and really easy to use. So what I'm going to actually do now, real quick, is kind of give you a quick demo on how I'm going to do all this. So just give me a second, I'll grab my drill. Okay, so on my drill here, I have, this is an 1/8" drill bit. This requires well, these ones here I believe are 7mm. Some other specs say 7.6mm. And of course, that's not 1/8 of an inch, that's quite a bit bigger. But I'm going to demonstrate something else real quick here first before I put this in. So I'm going to drill a hole in the sheet metal like so. Okay, so another cool tool that I have that I'm going to use for positioning the panel is right here. This is a Clico pin. It's basically a spring-loaded clip, and you can see it's got like little. Let me try to get closer. I don't know if I can zoom, if I can focus on this. So you can see that there's kind of a little pin in the middle, and then two little forks. So what this does is allows me to temporarily rivet two pieces of sheet metal together, or in this case I can rivet the wide fender to the car without making it permanent. So what these are great for is when you're doing body work, you can set up a panel and have it attached to where it's going to be permanently, but you don't have to say, you know, oh crap, I got to move it over or whatever. Now I have to drill out the rivet or so on. Or if you're going to be welding it with spot welds, even more reason why you use these. So all you do with them, you have a special pair of pliers. They go in there like that. You crank down on the pliers, and what that does is it opens the clip up a little bit, pushes these two outer pins forward, put it into the hole, into your material you're connecting, and then release it like that. And now the hole that I've drilled here is a little bit too big for this pin, but you can see it doesn't come out. So it'll conveniently hold the two pieces together long enough that I can drill the other holes and pin them out and get everything lined up, and that way I'm not drilling holes for the riv nuts in the wrong spot. And then of course to remove these, you just basically do the same thing you did to put them in, like so. They come out, done. So now that I have that hole, when it comes time to do the final install, I'm going to remove all the pins, remove the fender, and then this hole I'll enlarge out. Okay, once again, this requires a 7mm hole. This is an 1132 drill bit, and that's actually a hair too big for these. As you saw in the footage of this, it does hold, but I'm worried that it might not have enough gripping power to not spin if you crank it down enough. So I'm gonna go get some drill bits that are the right size, but in the meantime, for demonstration purposes, this works fine. So I'm gonna zoom out just to show you the tool. So this tool is really easy to use. Basically all you do is you open it up. This one here has a draw bar on it, so you open the draw bar out. You put the riv nut on this. This is called the mandrel. Stick it on there, and then you shove the rod back in. And all this does is it's got like a spiralized insert, and it spins the mandrel into the fitting. So now it's on there, and then all you do is stick it into your hole. Make sure it's relatively flat, and then crank these handles together like that. Get it good and pretty tight. Loosen this off, and then pull on this piece here and on threads, and there you go. So that's it. Now I have a threaded hole in a piece of sheet metal that I didn't have to get out the back of to install. So that's what we're going to use to install the fenders on the Fairlady. And I mean, it's pretty straightforward. There's not much more to it than that. Of course, like I said, the difference being that I'm going to do the fenders differently on this one when it comes time to cut them. So we'll go through all that. I'm going to mock up the cut line, and then we'll kind of just see how it goes and go from there. So the first step to doing this is we have to take the rear bumper off the stock one, because we're going to have to test fit with the new bumper to make sure that everything lines up. We don't actually technically need to have it on to install the one part of the fender, the top piece that I have taped on here, because it lines up with the top of the bumper here, and then the top of the side skirt down there. So I don't technically need that piece on here or the bumper on here to line it up. But I figured if I'm going to be cutting the thing out, I should probably just see where it needs to be cut. Actually, by the looks of things, I don't need to cut that much out. At least not get that close to the bumper, so which is good because I don't want to wreck the bumper, obviously. But there is a spot where it's going to be pretty close to where the bumper mounts the fender, and I don't want to mess it up. So it'd be better if I had everything in place. So I think we'll just go ahead and pull the rear bumper off and test fit the Twin Z bumper. Okay, well the car is on the lift now, but we just discovered a massive fuel leak, so we're gonna, before we do anything else with the fenders, we're gonna pop the hood and see where that's coming from, and hopefully we can fix it. Down in there. Okay, we found the culprit. It's just down up in here around the fuel pressure regulator. It's pissing everywhere, so we're gonna try to tighten that up. Hopefully that fixes it, because yeah, we don't want a car exploding on us right now. Okay, so the fuel leak is fixed. It doesn't read of gas anymore. So the next step is taking off the rear bumper, just so I don't have to worry about cutting into it when I'm cutting the fenders. And there's a different bumper going on anyway. So to get at that, we have to take all this plastic off and clean everything out of the trunk. So that's the next step. Holy crap, if you've never taken a bumper off one of these cars before, there's way more bolts than necessary. Inside in the trunk, there's a bolt here and here. Sorry for the focus, but this camera doesn't have focus. There's a bolt here on either side. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And then across the back on the inside, I think there's gotta be at least another 10. And then there's this bolt here, this nut that holds the license plate holder, so you can pivot it up. That way the bumper can slide out through this hole. And then there's a bumper clip here, and a screw here and here. And then underneath, up in there, you can see those little bumper clips. There's like 1, 2, that one's broken, 3, 4, 5, I guess. That's what I know about, at least. Yeah, those are the ones that I know about. And I'm hoping that's all there is, because holy crap. The new bumper has to go on pretty much the same way. I don't know how that's gonna work though exactly, because the new one doesn't have studs. This bumper has studs that go into the trunk, where the new bumper doesn't have anything, they're just holes. So I'm hoping that we can just kind of run a bolt through or something. I don't really know. We may have to go backwards or do riv nuts, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm gonna keep fighting with this, and I'll come back once it's actually off, and then I can kind of show you what we're gonna do with the fenders. Okay, I got her. I missed one of the bolts over here. There are 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bolts. 11 frigging bolts. So yeah, that's kind of stupid. But yeah, it's off now, so we're gonna go over here. And yeah, I'm gonna basically just trace out a line from where the bumper mounts, right about here, and then just go about 2 inches up, follow it around, and then right around maybe here or so is where I'll stop. So just like that, basically. Yeah, so I'll mark that off with some tape, just kind of give you an idea. It doesn't have to be perfect because the fender's going to cover it, the over fender. But obviously you want it to be somewhat a nice shape, because it'll make it easier to weld everything back together for the next step. So I'm gonna put the car back up on the lift a bit more, and yeah, we'll just have at her, I guess. Okay, so I've got everything ground down. Like I said, the welds don't look that amazing, but it's fine because we're going to cover it with silicone, and it'll be a lot stronger than just putting the silicone on alone, which is what I did with my car. And then I took a wire wheel and I basically went all over everything to kind of clean up the dirt. There's a lot of dirt in here, so you can see that. I just kind of cleaned a layer up so we can put some silicone in there and it'll actually stick to something, because obviously we don't want silicone to be stuck around dirt, because it's just not going to do anything. It's just going to end up peeling right back off, and we're going to get water and crap in there. And of course, water and dirt and stuff is the worst thing you can have in a weld like that. So I'm going to tape off the outside and grab my silicone and like a putty knife, and we're going to try to spread this out and get her all covered up and coated. Okay, so there she all is, all siliconed up. Doesn't look too bad. I meant to do a time lapse of this so you could actually watch me doing it, but my camera settings were all wrong and everything came out too dark. So this is what you get, basically. So the next step here is, well, what I'm going to do is I cleaned out the fender well where I put the silicone, but just to make sure I didn't miss anything in there, once this is kind of dried a bit, I'm going to take some spray on rubberized undercoating and just coat the shit out of the inside of the fender, just to make sure you get that extra protection. There's no risk of any rocks or something like that damaging the protective coating. So that's what I'm going to do. But in the meantime, while this is starting to set up, we're going to try to test fit the fender with the Cleco pins that I showed you earlier. So to do that, first I'm going to pre-drill all the little holes here. I'll pre-drill them out to 1/8 of an inch. And then we'll line up the fender on the quarter panel, and we'll drill out the body. and then put the pins in. Okay, well they're on, and they look fucking sweet. They're not 100% straight. They're about 98% straight, but that's okay. So these clecos are just there temporarily to hold it on so we can make sure it lines up. But once the car comes back from being wrapped, we're then going to enlarge the holes in the body, and then we can install the rib nuts and bolt them on permanently. And also once we get the bumper back from wrap, we can then do the piece that goes right here. Aside from that, I'm going to do the other side. I'm not really going to film that because it's really freaking tight over there and I don't want to have to bring a camera in. So we'll do that. I'll just show you what it looks like when it's done because there is the gas fill door over there, so it's a bit different. What's up, guys? So I'm going to apologize in advance because the car's done. We kind of had to rush it and I didn't really have time to film everything. So yeah, it's back, it's done, so I'll just show you the car and you guys can see what we did. There she is. So yeah, it just was wrapped in metallic black, basically kept the color of the car fairly similar to stock. And let's come around the back here, get a better view of the situation. The car's a little dirty right now, but yeah, there you go. So you can see what the style is. There's the piece like I told you about that goes on the bumper there. And then we blacked out the rear, what do you call that? It's the orange marker light. Anyway, that's been blacked out. New wheels. These are 18 by 10.5s with a 265 width tire on there. The fronts are 9.5 with a 255 tire, so much beefier than the stock 8-inch wide wheels. And new bumpers on. It's got the built-in diffuser, which looks freaking sweet. We're going to switch out the exhaust. We have an HKS exhaust for it. It's got the two big giant cannons, so we're going to install that as well. So get a bit more aggressive look in the rear. And then of course this side's the same. And so in terms of installing these, I showed you the demonstration of how the rib nuts work. That's all we did. I'll just kind of zoom in here, try to focus if I can. There we go, kind of. Yeah, so you can see the bolts that we used. They're just a cap head bolt with like a nice aluminum washer. And all we did was, after we took the cleco pins out and had everything wrapped up, we drilled the holes for the rib nuts out to the whatever size the rib nuts need to be. I think I did 1132 roughly. And then we popped those guys in, and then we drilled the holes in the actual over fender a little bit bigger than what the bolt size is, just to give us a little bit of play so we can move things around. And yeah, then we bolted it on. And there you have it. These wheels are a 22 offset, and they are actually nowhere near as wide as what this car is capable of fitting now. So if you can see in there, we've got a 50mm spacer, which is about 2 inches. Huge spacer. So yeah, it's quite massive. And then the fronts are, there's no spacer on the fronts, and they fit actually quite well. Need a little bit more low, but the overall fitment is great. Yeah, really happy with how the car turned out. Girlfriend's obviously really happy too. A few things left to fix. We got to fix this cowl here, paint it up or something. These trims around the windows are all gross looking, but we got brand new ones sitting in the house ready to go in. And then this piece up here between the T-tops is all rotted and stuff. The seals are gross. That needs to get replaced as well, but that's a part that's still available, thankfully. So yeah, it's pretty she's pretty decent. I'm pretty pleased with how it came out. But yeah, I mean, there's not much else to it. We gotta get back to the Skyline here, not too long. I'm just gonna go to the shop here, We can take a look at one other project. I'll give you a little bit of a preview of what we're working on. Here's hint number 1. So yeah, we have another one. And this is the same car, but it's a 2+0. So that car is also a twin turbo, 5-speed, and it is a 2+0, so it doesn't have the back seat. And that one is kind of next on the list after the Skyline's ready to go, but the Skyline's not ready to go yet. As you can see, still sitting here doing not much of anything, although I have been doing some body work back here. I haven't been filming this because I don't know how to do body work and I don't want to embarrass myself that much. So that's going to get some loving. Hopefully it turns out all right, but you'll see why I'm fixing that, or what I'm going to do with it when I'm done fixing it in an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's it, guys. I will get better shots of that of the Z32 pretty soon. So make sure that if you want to see more of this Z32 as well as the other Z32 as well as the Skyline, hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. As always, I'm Garrett, and I'll see you next time on Pistonhead Garage.